Ready now?
Oh,
Okay.
well, we weren't done talking, guys.
You said you wanted out of here by 7.
We went out of here.
4-H food auction is,
Okay.
7.
All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. The meeting of the Morgan County Council for July 5th, 2023. If you'll stand with us, I'm going to have Chip Keller lead us in the pledge and Vicki Kivett in the prayer.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, we stand before you and we give grace and thank you for all the wonderful things that you shed on our personal lives and on our county and on our nation. Dear Lord, we know that there's people that have struggles, and we ask that you be with them and show them the answers and that they're led to where they need to be. And dear Lord, we do thank you for those people who have overcome obstacles. Keep them on the straight and narrow. Be with those who serve in public service in police and fire, sheriff, EMS. Be with them all. We know that they face horrific sights and duties from time to time, and we just ask that you keep them all safe and out of harm's way. And dear Lord, we thank you for us being able to represent this county as a whole. Give us mindful decisions that work best for all the people of all of Morgan County, and let us have a healthy, safe, and fun week at the county fair. And all these things we pray in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Vicki. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes for June 5th? You've stolen my pen.
Uh-oh, that's a no-no with you.
Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes for our June 5th, 2023 meeting?
Vicki Kivett makes a motion. We approve minutes as presented.
Thank you, Vicki. We have a motion to approve the minutes for June 5th, 2023. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Brian. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Yeah.
We also have the joint workshop.
Oh, okay. All right. We also have meeting minutes from the joint workshop that we had together. I think everyone got a copy of those as well. I look for a motion to approve those. Kim Meredith will make.
Wasn't there. So.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Jason. Kim Meredith will second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Also want to, just for the record, show that we have 5 council members in attendance. Troy Sprinkle is still, he's doing better. He had surgery on his back, and he just wants to let everyone know he appreciates your prayers and thoughts for him, and he just asks that you keep those coming. He's on the mend, but I think it's going to take him a little while to get there, and then he'll be back with us. And Melissa had let us know that she would be out this week, or this month. She's on vacation, so those 2 are out. So the first thing we have is additional appropriations for the health department. Jeannie, you going to enlighten us here? You'll probably have to pull that mic down.
Carol is, had to have today off. She has a grandchild that's in an event at the Monroe County Fair. So I said, well, good, you go have a good time, and I would cover for her.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah, these funds are COAG, COVID-19 funds. It's the second year, grant year. We hadn't had those appropriated yet. The monies all came in last year, 2022, and so we are now wanting to appropriate these accordingly. We are going to go ahead and we're going to try to get a part-time nurse to be the school liaison, but if push comes to shove and they need benefits, then we've added in the benefits in there to cover for that. So, you know, just depending on what we get, we went ahead and decided to put the benefits in just in case. That's the route we need to go. The incentive supplies, the nurses usually buy personal hygiene. They've been buying personal hygiene supplies to give to the schools. They have helped some with vegetable gardens, supplies for those type of things, just kind of various things that the state has approved for them to do with those funds. And then the contract line items, we are paying 1.5 social worker. One is at the high school, the full-time one is at the high school, and then the half one that we're paying, just or getting ready to pay for, it works at the Eminent School district. So we're wanting, those funds will still continue that work that's been started. So, anyone have any questions about it?
Any questions, comments? Anything?
There being no questions, Vicki Kivett will make a motion that we approve their appropriation of
3:30.
$330,000 from Fund 8953.
To the Health Department. We have a motion to approve.
Jason Maxwell seconds.
A second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Jeannie.
Okay, thank you.
And Linda, I think you're up next. You have something for us? Vehicle lease rental.
Hello.
We said Linda.
It's all
Where did we
right.
get that?
I know
Laura.
a Linda Parker, I'm sorry. But she doesn't make real good gooey cake.
That's my secret. So I believe there was a memo from me explaining this request for this additional appropriation. Plan Commission has 2 leased vehicles, and one of those got sold, and we got the check, and it was like the first time dealing with it, so they deposited the check instead of crediting it to the line item. So I need those funds appropriated so that I can have enough money in my lease line item to continue paying the leases.
Makes perfect sense. Your letter was good in explaining that.
Okay.
Anyone have any questions on it?
I'll make a motion to approve the $11,908.
Thank you, Jason.
Chip. But I bet Jason's going to second that motion.
Carol, I will second that motion.
We are struggling a bit, aren't we? Oh, my. Okay,
I will second that.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Linda Lori. Carol. My God.
I think this is the funnest council this county has ever had.
The next was a transfer, and this was Weights and Measures, Scotty Manley, and he had asked me, since it was only $150 and it was a transfer, did he really have to come? And I let him off. I said no. So it was a transfer from his vehicle lease rental of $150 to cover his years of service line item of $150. Any questions or comments on that?
My only thing this early in the year is if he could have waited and maybe towards the end of the year when we pay these out in December, if there would have been money.
Well, I think he was approached that he needed to get that cleaned up.
Yeah, I think it came up when he was doing his budget.
Okay. I have no problem with it. It's just,
Is that a motion?
that's a motion.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Chip will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. And then we have a little cleaning up in our salary ordinance amendments. Yeah, if you'll explain it. You can just, here, you can have this.
Okay.
Explain a little about what that's about.
With the Highway Department doing their budget for 2024, we found some things that needed cleaned up on the salary ordinance. The yard operator and equipment operator are budgeted and they're being paid out of the Cume Bridge Fund. But in the salary ordinance, they were listed under the Highway and Bridge Fund, so we just need to get that moved. And then on the Highway and Bridge, the truck driver, there should be 3 positions, and I believe we have 6 listed on the ordinance. And the equipment operator should be 3 positions, and there were 5 listed on the ordinance. So we're just cleaning that up.
Okay. Do you want to do it as a whole and just approve?
Yes, that's fine.
Did everyone understand that? It's really not additional monies or anything, it's just a cleanup.
So when there were 5 listed, but there's only salary in there for 3, right? Okay.
Yes.
Not any overages.
I think, didn't they, Dan can probably answer this better than me. I think last year, they did some shuffling of job descriptions, and I think they downsized and then increased the pay for the people.
Made some adjustments in the pay for those. Yes, that's exactly right. I was a little confused when I looked at it. I thought we'd left out positions. I nearly had a heart attack. But it does make sense when you explained it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone have questions on that or comments?
You just need a motion to make the changes. I give that motion.
Thank you, Vicki. Kim Meredith will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And then Job Maintenance Committee.
And I will go through with Derby.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Get out of your way. Good evening, Bree.
Good evening. Tonight, we had a job maintenance committee. Several department heads are working on getting things ready for next year's budget. The first one that was brought to me was by the assessor. They have requested a chief deputy for their office. They are allowed to have that by the IC code, and the job maintenance committee had no problem with approving the job description for that. And so that will be an ask at budget time.
Okay.
Do you want to do that one, and then we'll talk about the second one?
Step up a little bit into the.
sorry.
Yeah, you're fine.
Do you have any questions regarding that?
The study, the committee, we voted in favor of the change, obviously.
Typically, a chief deputy makes about 75% of what the office holder does. And I think we only have one office that doesn't have a chief deputy that could, that's listed in the IC code.
And that's the assessor's office.
No, it's the surveyor.
Yep.
Oh.
No, that is the surveyor's office. The surveyor's office.
Okay. So I guess I'm confused. So there's not been a chief deputy position in the assessor's office?
No, there has not been.
Is that, go ahead.
When you say 75% of salary, you mean the base salary, not with her certifications and her extra fees she gets above her base pay?
I believe that is the case. This person that would be selected or appointed as her chief deputy would, I believe, would still get payment for the classes, the certification levels that they've already passed.
Okay.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, because they said that they're required to be paid for this.
Yep.
Is this going to be an additional staff person that they'll hire, or just they're going to have someone from within that's going to
She,
assume this role?
she's wanting to appoint somebody from within her office to that role. So it's not an additional ask.
I wouldn't have issue with that. I would have issue with an additional employee.
Yeah.
That office has a lot of downtime. And
That's why, yeah, that's what.
But this is something that would happen on the next year's budget.
Correct. January 1.
One, okay.
thoughts?
Indiana statute allows provision for it to happen.
Can we stipulate, though, that it be a hire within and no additional outside hire?
Well,
We can do that when we approve our budget.
yeah, the line, what we appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, we just wouldn't appropriate a new person.
Right. Just an
Just
adjustment in that
change
salary.
the title categories
Yeah.
and pay.
So you're looking for a motion to approve that as of the budget time in
As
for
of
the
January
January budget?
1st.
Okay. Anyone have issue or questions, further questions? Hearing none, I look for a motion.
Vicki, you're on the committee.
Brian?
Oh, Brian's on the committee.
Motion that we approve the job category as presented.
Thank you, Brian.
Vicky Kivett seconds that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. We'll move on to the next one.
We have one more.
Yeah, I thought you had another one.
right.
Go right ahead.
The auditor's office has been made aware that their chief deputy will be retiring soon, possibly within the next year. The final date has not been given. And when this happened before, the council approved a temporary position that was able to come and train, because that is such an important position with a lot of knowledge. So Linda has asked that we allow her to get a temporary person to train with this person for 6 months, May to a year, depending on what date is given.
And I would like to be able to bring them in this fall so they can work through the,
I can hear.
I'd like to bring them in this fall so they can work through the year-end processes and the annual report that has to be done at the first of the year, and the grant reporting and all that Joyce does.
Are you thinking like a quarter, like through the last
I'd like to bring
quarter?
them in maybe like the first part of September, if we could.
September through December.
So you'll be before us in August for that request, difference in salary?
If we have enough in the training overlap.
That's
we
true,
can use
that's true.
that, and then,
I didn't have issue with it. I know that's going to be those are big shoes to fill.
It is a very big
Yes,
job to fill.
Yes. And Linda had came and asked if I wanted it through because there was through the commissioner's budget or on her budget. And I like to have it on the same budget that it pertains to. But I know through that training money, we have to do something different.
Well, in our meeting upstairs, Linda said she had money, and if it's not enough, the commissioners, Josh felt, had money.
well, I have money in my part-time budget that we're paying Dan
Okay.
in our,
We're not going to fire Dan to fill this position,
No.
right?
I have asked him if he would.
You want to come back again?
Yeah, if we can keep him like Jeannie.
Yeah, just keep bringing him back. I don't have any issue at all with that. Anyone else? Okay, and I look for a motion to approve the part-time position for training.
I'll make a motion that we approve the part-time position for training.
Thank you, Brian.
Vicky, Jason Maxwell.
Jason Maxwell will second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
All right. Then you might as well, you gonna stay up there? You gonna? Yep, you got, under other business, the revised agenda, you just had one change on it. There's a lit levy freeze rate that Dan and Linda are gonna go over with us. Joyce. She's a good one. Yep, I work with her.
So all of you, except for possibly Brian, but he may remember because he sat in on a lot of the council meetings last year. And last year, there were changes made to the levy freeze rate. The levy freeze is that income tax that is distributed to the taxing units that to replace the levy that was frozen back about 4 years in a row. There was, the income tax was used to fund the increase in the levy as opposed to property tax. And then once that got to the point to where you either had to discontinue that or increase the local income tax. The decision was made to discontinue that. And so that was, I like to use the word frozen then, but DLGF used the word thawed. But regardless, the cumulative amount of those levy increases that were funded from the income tax is $3.9 million and some change. The more specific dollar amount is in the handout that's in your packet. And so that is an amount that's fixed and the amount that is distributed to the units. So any amount of money that is allocated to the levy freeze out of the total income tax. Yeah, did everybody see that, their last handout? So whatever amount, any amount of money of the local income tax that is allocated to the levy freeze that exceeds that $3.9 million is unused and can't be used for any other purpose. And the only way to change that is to change the levy freeze rate and to change the allocation that those dollars would be allocated to one of the other categories of the local income tax. And last year, the council voted to change the rate and decrease the rate on the levy freeze by 5 cents. And that 5 cents then was added on to be the lit public safety PSAP lit, that 5 cents. And then there was a second attempt to decrease it even further, and the council did vote to do that. But then when all the documentation was being gathered to send to DLGF to decrease that rate some more, we learned then that the newspaper did not publish that notice. Yeah. And so therefore, all that action was for nothing. And that was another 0.0217 the decrease would have been, but that's neither here nor there. That didn't happen. So due to the fact that that didn't happen, then this year there's an excess amount of the $437,082 that's being collected and allocated to levy freeze because we couldn't reduce the rate anymore. And then now, with this current legislative session, there was an amendment to the statute to allow the county council to adopt an ordinance to allocate the lit supplemental distribution that is allocated to levy freeze. And this year there was, again, not every year, but this year there was a lit supplemental distribution, and the portion of that lit supplemental distribution that is for the levy freeze is $558,162. So that money could be available to reduce the rate even further. Also, August 1, the state budget agency will be releasing the 2024 estimates of the lit distributions. And I would be surprised if we don't have, again, additional money for the levy freeze in that certification, whatever that amount might be, that could be added to these two amounts that could further reduce the rate. The reason it's wise and good stewardship of the local income tax to reduce that rate and allocate it to some other use is because that money is just accumulating in a fund that you cannot use it. And so there is no need to move any more money into what's called the stabilization fund. That's where the accumulative amounts of these excesses are deposited. There's no need to get that because it's into, and I forgot to look that up, but it's multi-million dollars in there. And if you remember last year, I was trying to get the DLGF to allow us to spend that down. Mm-hmm. Then we found out that they can't approve that, and they can only approve a rate that the current revenue will fund those levy freeze distributions, in other words, the 3.9 million. It has to be funded from current revenue coming in, or estimated to come in the next year, that they can't look at what we've accumulated over years. And so there was an attempt to get the legislators to amend that statute to allow DLGF to look at that accumulated amount. We couldn't get legislators to go quite there. They're uncomfortable with that, releasing counties to do that, because there is a history of some counties that have this levy freeze have not managed it very well, and they've got themselves in dire straits with getting that rate too low, and they can't fund the distribution to the other units, and the other units are suffering from the action of the county and so forth and so on. And there's a couple examples of that in the state. So the compromise is that they agreed then to allow the county, if the county wishes to allocate that supplemental distribution amount, and so therefore it won't go into build that pot any further if the county council would act or agree to do that. The question is that, and it's been put to DLGF, and we can't quite get a definitive answer from DLGF on this, is okay, and this new law came effective July 1. So the question to DLGF by me and our budget consultant is that applicable to the supplemental distribution the county received in May of this year, or is that only applicable to supplemental distributions going forward? Can't get them to give us a yay or a nay, and they just get dancing around that. And so I've had conversations with our budget consultant, and as early as today, and they agreed that with my plan is that the county council, if you wish to allocate that money to a levy freeze rate reduction, that the county council go ahead and adopt an ordinance to allocate that May 23 supplemental, and that be included in the packet that goes to DLGF if and when you do decide to reduce the levy freeze rate and allocate it to some other purpose. That puts it on them. They got to make a decision then. I feel like they'll decide, yes, you can use that. They just haven't had that put to them formally. And by putting it in an ordinance, that will be putting it to them formally. And so the county, Morgan County, could use that money plus what we've already have as an excess, and also whatever might come out of the August 1 estimates excess. Morgan County could take all those amounts and whatever the rate equivalent to that would be, then reduce the levy freeze rate by that rate, and then the council could decide what other category do you want that to go to, and it doesn't have to go singularly to one.
That's what I was going to ask. Could it be more than one?
It could be more than one. Right now, the 500,000 and the 400,000 that we have, that equivalent to 5 cents. So we know it's going to be at least 5 cents. I say it's going to be, I predict it's probably going to be in the neighborhood 7 to 8 cents by the time we get there. And you could reduce the levy freeze rate, and you could allocate it to some other needs. One of your, once you start seeing budget numbers, one of your glaring needs is going to be public safety and the sheriff's department. And that could be a good shot in the arm for the budget to put that to the levy, to the public safety rate. But there are other, I mean, we've talked about economic development in the past, but quite honestly, though, the more immediate need is in public safety right now.
Yeah.
Or you could even increase your PSAP allocation if you wanted to. Or you could adopt one of these other new items that were passed. You now can adopt an EMS lit rate. You can also adopt a judicial rate that goes towards paying court salaries. Those are a couple of the new ones. The one change, the EMS is not so much new. The EMS, the difference between the what passed in '22 and how they amended it in '23 is in '22, the stipulation was for the EMS that the county had to provide 100% of the EMS services in the county. They took that provision away in '23, so that's no longer a requirement in '23. And so that makes Morgan
that an
County
option.
eligible for that. But whatever the case, by allowing that rate to stay where it is, that rate being the levy freeze rate, allowing that rate to stay where it is, we're just going to accumulate more money that can't be allocated. And once we, but you, the council, but all of us collectively, once we let that get into that pot of money, that stabilization fund, then DLGF can't approve using that to reduce the rate. So time is of the essence. Also of the essence is that you can, excuse me, look at my notes here. You have until the 1st of November. You have until the 1st of November to get all of this done. You're too late to make the August 1 deadline.
Right.
But you have till the 1st of November to get all of this done. There was a requirement in the legislation about notifying by August 1 taxing units of changes in lit rates, but as I look at DLGF's memos, what I see now is that the county is required to notify within 15 days after adoption of the ordinance. So there was a problem there with counties that are trying to manage their lit rates like Morgan and other counties are with this August 1 notification to the units. Hell, you don't know what you're going to do by August 1, But within 15 days after you pass these lit ordinances, if you were to changes, then Linda will be required. That's so nice to say you doing that. Linda will be required to notify taxing units of the changes. If we fail to notify them within 15 days, then it's kind of like the paper not publishing our notice. It was an academic exercise. It went nowhere.
Back to that issue of having it in the paper, how do we avoid that? I mean,
Yeah,
is
we're
this?
just going to have to really watch
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
And I don't have that's the only answer I have right now. But that's got to happen. There may be some fallback we might be able to do with our website or with some public or posting notices, but
We may need to get some clarification on what other options we have.
yeah, that would be, yes, we do need to get that because
Yeah.
we need to be prepared.
We
We
do.
don't want to go through this exercise again.
Right.
We know how to do this. We don't need to practice it again.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that this time it's fruitful and that things happen. But that's we just wanted to talk with you tonight because, like I said, time is of the essence. have you start thinking about, first of all, do you or do you not want to reduce the levy freeze rate? I hope you say yes to that.
Yes, I think we.
And second of all, you know, I know the rate reduction is going to be at least 5 cents. It's probably going to be between 5 and 8 cents. I'm my crystal ball, but predicting. But somewhere in that neighborhood is where the reduction will be. And so every, excuse me, go ahead.
Didn't we determine that we'll go ahead and send notification by August 1st to the units and let them know?
It's not required.
So we're not required, okay.
It's not required.
So are we
Do you agree,
looking to,
Josh? It's that August 1 notification. Yeah. Yeah, that was from the DLGF memo on legislation affecting income tax that,
I certainly am in favor of this. Having just met with Scott Hamilton in the 911 today, I know public safety can use all the help it can get, so I think this is a wise move for sure going forward.
is our timeline looking like September then? And it's approved by the council only, not commissioners?
council only.
Okay.
Correct, Vicki, we're looking in the time frame of September. That, if we can get it in that September council meeting, get everything lined up to happen then, that gives us, we'll be able to comfortably get it, meet all those other requirements by the November 1 date. Because we got to, after you guys pass, then we've got to notify the units, and then we've got to get things to the DLGF and so forth.
That'll allow enough time if we do that?
That would allow
Okay.
enough time to do that, September 1. And,
When's our September
but we
meeting?
got, you know, and that gives us after the August 1. The August 1 will give us where we, August 1, we'll know then whether we're looking at 5 cents or are we looking at something more than 5 cents. But I say we're looking at 5 cents definitely because we've already got that money accumulated. The 400,000 to 500,
The reduction and then assign to where we're going to put,
all in the same motion.
it all has to be in the same. So we have to know, that's why we have to kind of wait until probably budget time, you're saying, after August 1st to really do all that.
You're
Yeah.
going to have, you're going to be getting here, you know, for
It's Labor Day.
your, I got to speak in this because I've listened online and it's annoying when the speaker doesn't speak into the microphone. You're going to have your budget workshop at somewhere in the end of July. Then you're going to see numbers, you're going to see where we're at,
That's what we're
where the preliminary numbers on where we're at with budgets, and what kind of
9:13.
funding needs.
Just to see that.
Yeah. And, by the way, we sent to Reedy today, their budget, budget book, as they call it, but the budget workbook, budget worksheet with all the numbers in it. We got that sent to them. I've sent them the June 30 financial statements and stuff that they need. So they have what they need. What the plan is with Reedy is that they're going to, we did the budget estimate grunt work with getting it from the departments and getting it into work speech and getting it into the financial system and all those things that it's like, it's in triplicate, you might say, but all those areas that we got to get that in. What was worked out with Reedy, that we would do that grunt work, and then they would double check us. We would send up, and that reminds me, Linda, I need to send them my source documents. I didn't do that, but we'll send them our source documents, and they can check us.
Okay.
They're going to do the revenue estimates. And then they're going to send that to us for us to double check that. That's how we worked out to where we have our controls, our checks and balances with, so we kind of split it to
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
good.
Do that way.
My concern is our September 13th our September council meeting isn't until the 13th of September.
That just blows it all up.
Well, I
We're
mean,
fine, Vicki, we're fine. That's fine.
you think we're okay? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just joking with you.
I don't want to mess it up. Well, I mean, we have these budget workshops if we needed to throw in a special
Yeah, no,
meeting.
we're going to
Okay.
be fine with that.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
we're going to be fine. Yeah, I realized it wasn't going to be the first step. I couldn't,
Well, the 4th was going to be
I mean, if you
Labor
put a
Day.
gun to my head, I might would have come up to what date it is in September, but I couldn't remember what date in September. But, no, we're going to be fine.
Okay, I don't want to mess anything
Yeah,
up.
good question.
As far as the legal notifications in the county, that has to be in a paper that's countywide circulated. Refresh my mind on that.
That's sums it up. I couldn't recite to you the exact requirements, but, yeah, if it are two, and we have two, so,
And if we have two, we have to notify both, but if one fails to post it and the other one does, then no dice?
no dice.
So how do we make sure the report, I mean, there is?
What would
What
that
is it?
recourse be?
I think it's an affidavit from the newspaper telling them that they did receive our notice.
You had your paper trail.
Yeah, we just didn't employ it last year, but
Oh, he just didn't do it, okay.
I think it's something. Yeah, there is, but I can't
Okay.
call, but let's hope we don't need to concern ourselves with that, but yeah, if we have two newspapers that have general circulation in the county, then we have to publish it in both, and then the fact that one's a weekly, then that dictates when we have to get the notice prepared into the paper, and,
But we'll
which-
know that in advance. We've got, we'll know that in advance, what that weekly date is that it comes out. Yeah.
she will. I've erased all that out of my head.
Well,
But they probably changed it half a dozen times.
well, thank you for your hard work on that. That's,
Well, we do have one other proposal.
okay.
The portion of the lit levy freeze rate that goes to property tax relief.
Tax relief rate,
Yeah, the property tax relief rate.
that 1.002.
You could make a change to that allocation and provide a little bit of relief to the homestead portion, those parcels. Currently, 95% of that is going to the all property types, property classes,
Percent of it, you said?
and 5% goes to the homestead properties.
Okay.
As you recall, this spring, we saw a big shift in the tax burden to the homestead parcels.
Yes.
So we did a quick calculation this afternoon. If in 2023 that had been 90% and 10%, a calculation on Dan's home, he would have saved an additional $24. A calculation on mine, because I have a large outbuilding and grain bins, mine increased. So, but that would, that would kind of help shift that burden from the homestead.
95%.
95% goes where?
To the all property types, so that your caps
All
1, 2, and
And
3.
5% went to the homestead.
And those dollars are split 95 and 5%. The 95% of the dollars are used to determine a property tax replacement credit. That's a reduction in property tax bills for all taxpayers. And then 5% of the dollars are allocated to calculate a homestead credit, and that is a reduction for homestead property tax bills. Do you have noted right now what those are? I didn't bring that sheet with me.
Which,
What
oh,
the
what the
current
rates-
rates are?
um,
That's the new rate.
it was 26
Yeah, it's
point and 2, I think, 1.91 or something. Or
2.9.
2.9, yes,
2.9.
on the homestead.
So approximately 26% is the replacement credit percentage reduction now, and then 2.9 or almost 3% is the homestead percentage reduction in tax bills. if you change it to 90% replacement and 10% homestead, those would change to like 24.6% would be the rate, the percentage reduction on property, for the property tax replacement credit, and the 5.8% would be the homestead credit. So it almost doubles the homestead credit, but the two-edged sword here is that, you know, as you bring up the homestead credit relief, you're gonna bring down that replacement credit relief. And, because, you know, that you can't increase one and you can't increase both of them, you know, so it's something to think about.
And then-
There again, you've got till November 1 for that change too. And if you want some more numbers crunched, I'll volunteer.
And then mortgage exemptions are going away what year?
The mortgage deduction goes away for the 2024 tax bills.
But the standard deduction was increased by
Yes.
$3,000. So those taxpayers who had both a mortgage and both a mortgage and a homestead, they're not going to lose. I mean, one you lose the mortgage, but it increases the homestead. But those property owners who only had mortgage deduction, they're going to lose a little bit.
And the homestead supplemental rate will increase for the next 2 years. There will be an increase in it. Right now, it's 35%, and I want to think it goes to 38% in '24, and then down to 37 or 36 in '25.
And then off subject, but did I see in legislation that they approve counties paying claims twice a month? Did I read that somewhere?
You know, you could
Oh,
always,
that wasn't, okay.
no.
Okay. I see a huge advantage to that.
I see an advantage to it. Just right now, with all that we have going on in our office, with building the new timekeeping system, and with Joyce planning her exit, I just don't think that that's a hill I want to climb just yet.
Yeah, I never could, I mean, I explored that idea when I was auditor, but I never could get the workload to
Yeah.
work out to where, you're correct. I mean, there's an advantage of attracting additional vendors and additional
Absolutely.
contractors and such, because that's one of the negatives and big negatives of doing business with the county is that, you know, there's 30 to 45 days.
Absolutely.
But we do have the ability to pay in utility batches too. If the commissioners sign off, if something needs to be paid quicker.
Now,
Yeah.
so explain that.
Don't think of utility as electric.
Yeah,
gas,
not just you.
That's just a
Yeah, because you do have the things such as the electric and gas that you have to pay by deadlines so that you don't have an extra fee. We do have that ability that the commissioners can sign those claims, and we do push those out before just the monthly claims that come out at the first of the month.
Those don't have to wait till the commissioners' meeting to be
No.
approved by the commissioners. If they're okay with approving it up front and we get them to sign off on that approval, then those will go ahead and be paid immediately. Or as soon as a new batch is being processed, which one of those batches is being processed here in a few days.
So does it have to be done in a commissioners meeting?
Then it is added to the commissioner's docket for the next commissioner.
Okay.
But that's something that is only used on limited and needed situations. Because if you could end up, if you get too, you do that too often, then you're going to have everybody saying, well,
Yeah.
this is
Right.
paid immediately. You would get more than counts around, whereas you use it sporadically and in cases of emergencies, they're okay with it.
So,
Credit cards and, utility bills that if it's not paid on time, you're going to incur a penalty for
Right.
late payment. Those are what go into what's called utility batches.
Okay.
Initially, those were the only kind of claims that went into those batches. And that's how it got the title of utility batch.
Okay.
But over time, that has expanded. The first expansion to that was credit cards were added to that. Then now, emergency claims are added to that. If a commissioner will approve that, it requires a commissioner approval. The auditor can't unilaterally decide that, oh, yeah, okay, we're going to pay that immediately. It does require the commissioners to agree to it.
so this might sound like a real dumb question, but I need answers, I guess. On the construction project, and we did the bond issue and all that, are we paying out money routinely to vendors? No? That's through the bot and all?
They submit them to us roughly monthly, but we just pay our developer. It's his responsibility to pay all the vendors.
Okay.
Similar to like a drawdown.
Oh, what?
It's like a drawdown. when they
Yeah, okay,
submit that,
yeah.
and so that's paid. Now, the building corporation, their trustee is, the other bond is a lease rental bond, not a bond. And that's all being paid by the building corporation through their trustee.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, that just popped in my
Is that
mind
it?
the other day. Yeah,
I think that's it. Just
All
gives
right.
you
Well, thank
something
you.
to
Thank
think
you for,
about.
gave us lots to think about.
I think these are.
we'll be ready for you in August.
Yeah. All right, is there anything else that needs to come before the council this evening?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
She's ready.
Second?
Motion and a second. All those in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Our next meeting will be August the 7th at 6:30.
Councilman, I brought county fair signs
Oh,
over
yeah.
there.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
guys don't
That's
mind
right.
taking one and putting it in your yard.
We got,
Oh, yeah.
don't leave, we got signature forms.
I'd appreciate, and then when the fair's over, if you just want to leave it back over there against the wall, I'll get it.
And don't forget,
You can if you want.
don't forget,
Jason?
July 24th is our meeting with Reading at 5:30.
When's the fair?
7th through the 15th. Jason and I will even autograph a yard sign. Since that's our home away from home, July 7th through the 15th.
Sorry about that.
Deb wants to know if Carol's going to sign it.
Yeah,
That's
my
late night
alias here.
event. That's not open to the public.
Driving during the